You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. There are a lot of podcasts out there, and you've chosen this one today. Maybe you did it for Simon Pegg. Maybe you did it for me. I'm banking on Simon Pegg, though, right, Ryan?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but look, if you like this interview and you're like, yeah, this guy can interview people, then all I ask is maybe listen to some others. Subscribe and support this little podcast that could. And support us by following us, writing a review at Inside of You Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, at Inside of You Pod on the Twitter. And if you really want to support the podcast, join Patreon. Patreon.com/Inside of You. If you want to really support the podcast, there's a lot of perks. There's different tiers. I send packages to people and notes, and it really helps the podcast. Keeps us afloat. So whatever you can do. Imagine it's like a streaming service we talk about, Ryan. Good to see you, Ryan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm grand. It's as we're talking right now, I'm gearing up for my surgery.
You are gearing up for your surgery.
So I'm having surgery. By this point, I already had had the surgery. So hopefully I'm doing okay at this point. But I'd say right now I'm a little nervous, and I don't get nervous, but I'm not nervous about going under as much as I am about it working. I want some relief. So I'm having an artificial disc put in my neck, folks. So join patreon.com/inside of you. No, I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers and all that stuff. And we had a great episode, and I want to just throw this at you. My book is out on Amazon. Go to Amazon and get a copy, The Talented Farter. It's a touching little sound book. I think we were #1 in children's humor and #1 in new releases for children's books. And we're #6 for #1 in sounds, children's sound books.
Lovely.
So that's good. People are going out and getting the book. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful book, well illustrated. So pick up a copy of The Talented Farter if you want to support. And you can also go to my Instagram at the Michael Rosenbaum. There's a link tree with my cameo and the Talented Farter. And of course, Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath for your dog's breath. I use it every morning, Ryan.
You are not on yourself, to be clear.
No, I should. But I put a cap full in my dog's water bowls with water. It's odorless, tasteless. They don't know, and their breath is so much better. Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath on Amazon. Also, the Inside of You online store for great merch, Smallville merch, and all that stuff. I'm really excited about having Simon Pegg on the show.
Yeah.
I was really pumped. I wish it was in person, but I would have had to wait months, and I didn't want to make you guys wait. He was so freaking cool, so down to earth, and talked about everything. And I had a blast, didn't you?
I did too. Yeah, we should just have him back. He'll be in town. You should have him back.
He's like he was texting me the other day, and I was like, dude,
because this was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Let's do a Simon Pegg part 2.
Let's do a SP2.
SP2.
We could do it. All right. Look, without further ado, thanks for the support on the podcast. Thanks for the support and everything else. And let's get inside of Simon Pegg.
It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
You seem like you're a person who's never really late.
I don't like being late. I mean, it really does wind me up. If I sense that I'm late, I start to stress out. I'm a punctual man.
Really? On sets, you're not the guy that's like a Simon again. He's holding us up.
No, I have a special chair which is called Jeff. This is a big old name drop. So I did a film in 2008 with Jeff Bridges, and he taught me the best way to relax on set is to have a zero gravity garden chair. And it's like one of those recliners, you get them at like Home Depot, like $40. But they keep you on set. So you don't want to go back to your trailer because you're sitting in your lazy boy so I'm always on set, mate.
So you're just lying down there lounging in your zero gravity?
Exactly.
They're like, Simon's here. He's just asleep. He's on set.
Oh, I have so many naps on set. It's ridiculous.
Dude, you're like that's good. You're like one of the nicest guys. Like, honestly, and I hear that. And you play such a likable characters for the most part.
Yeah.
No, but people like genuinely like you. You're just like, I think when I saw you in Shaun of the Dead the first time, I was blown away by that movie. I mean, I'm a horror fan. If you look in my room, I've got, Bruce Campbell signed my Evil Dead poster, Kiefer signed and Jason Patrick signed my Lost Boys poster. It's all horror. So I have to get a Shaun of the Dead poster from you and Nick for sure.
Absolutely, we'll send you one for sure.
Oh God, I'm sure you have stacks of them in your place, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you keep?
I just bought this. I walked past this shop today, and they were selling these little Funkos. They've done some video game with the characters from lots of characters from lots of different movies. It's like a kind of a multiverse thing. Anyway, they've got Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. So I walked past this shop. Of course, I collect small effigies of myself, and I never like to ask for freebies. And I walked in, and I said to the guy, I said, "You're not going to believe this." And he suddenly went, "Oh!"
Freaked him out.
Yeah,
I bet you signed one for him.
I said I would go back, and he'd literally just taken his son to see the 20th anniversary screening of Shaun of the Dead, and but I was I don't like to say, hey, do you want a picture? But I'll go back and I'll sign a couple so you can bump up the price.
I go into the comic book stores every once in a while, and if anybody's going to recognize me, it's usually people in comic book stores.
Same, yeah. It's like,
so I go in there and I'm just like, I go, "Do you have any Lex Luthor stuff?" And they're like, "Dude." And I'll take
put the
7.
bald cap on.
Yeah, I put a bald cap. No, that would be really, really bad. Did you, by the way, I will get into this, but you talk about Shaun of the Dead all the time, but did you know while you're filming it, you're thinking, this is going to be a fucking hit? Did you have no idea? You're like, this could be a piece of shit.
Oh, no, we knew we were making the film we wanted to make. And me and Edgar thought it was good, and we were proud of and we had a lot of support from Working Title and Universal, and we had Nick Frost, Secret Weapon, and we were hopeful, but we never had any idea that it would still be being talked about 20 years later.
Yeah, that's gotta feel good, huh?
Yeah, it's nice. It's the best thing you can hope for, really.
Yeah, most of the time when you're doing these little independent movies, or you just go, I don't know anymore. I'm just doing it. I'm going to have fun. Yeah. Because I've done so many that are like, "Oh, the dailies are great, man. Oh, everything's good. The producers are coming up to you. Oh, yeah." And you're like, "Oh, this is doomed. This is fucking doomed." You
just never know sometimes. I mean, you do, I've read great scripts that have turned into bad movies, and I've read mediocre scripts which have come out pretty good. It's a crapshoot. It's such a process from writing through the edit, through the score. There are so many variables. Well, however good you are, it doesn't matter. It's like everything has to come together.
That's what I always say. I always say it's like it's the perfect storm. It's like you could have great acting in a shitty movie. You could have beautiful movie shot amazingly, great story, and the acting isn't very good, or the music isn't good, or something's not right, or didn't get. It's just got to be the perfect kind of chemistry, right?
Yeah, score can kill a film. A good score can make a mediocre film good, but a bad score can make a great film shit. It's so important.
Yeah, and you wonder sometimes you're watching these movies and you're like, how did they agree to this? How did they agree to this score? How did everybody go, yeah, I'm in? I don't understand how that works, but I don't know. Maybe the director has a lot of control or whatever. But listen, were you always sort of outgoing in school? Were you were you popular? How was it growing up?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty outgoing. I mean, school, it's like tribes, isn't it? There's this group and that group, and I wasn't in the kind of like with the jocks and stuff, but I wasn't unpopular. I got pushed around a little bit because I was a bit of a show off, and that pissed people off.
What'd you show off? What would you do? Just kind of mouth people?
Well, my teacher used to, every Monday morning, would let me tell a joke in front of the class, like get up and tell a joke, so that, and I think it was his way of kind of exhausting me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So I'd calm down. But that was like, yeah. And then I guess my mom was big into like community theater. So I hung around a lot of those kind of show people as a kid. And then when I got to about 15, the idea of doing it for a living sort of cropped up, because there was a college course that let you do like theater studies at A level, which is our kind of college, just before we go to university here. And my mom was just like, yeah, go for it. Why not? And that was that.
You know, I remember I was like that in school too, where I got picked on, but I was always mouthing. I had a quick, yapper. I was just like quick with the wit, I guess. And I remember things like my teacher, Mr. Shelby, in pre-algebra, because I wasn't smart enough for algebra. He was facing the board and writing something, and I just did this incredibly loud armpit fart. This,
Beautiful.
and I ripped one, and everybody started laughing. And he wasn't even he was looking at the board. He goes, "Rosenbaum out in the hallway." And I walked out the door, and then I stopped and I turned to him like in a movie, and I go, "How'd you know it was me?" And he goes, "Get out now."
Like, you had form. That's why.
Yeah,
it was you.
Were you a fan of like Star Trek and Mission Impossible and horror movies growing up? I mean, what was it you liked?
Oh yeah, I mean, Star Wars hit for me when I was 8. Actually, it came to the UK in '78. It came the winter after it came out in America, and that hit like a bomb for me, as it did for most children of that age. And I'd already, been into kind of science fiction and like Ray Harryhausen movies, Jason and the Argonauts, Sinbad, that kind of stuff. And then, Star Wars just sort of, it was seismic, wasn't it? I mean, it was just one of those moments that it will never happen again, ever.
No.
And it just changed my life in so many ways. And then I started seeking out, and then I found the old original series of Star Trek. So I used to watch that. They repeated that in 1979 on BBC Two. It used to be on at 6:00 every night. I watched that religiously, loved that. And,
what about Doctor Who? Was that around when you were young?
Yeah. Well, Doctor Who, absolutely. I watched that from a very early age. That was back when it was like cardboard. I mean, just ridiculous. But you never questioned it. You watched it and you believed the Daleks, and you believed that however amateur and cheap it looked, it didn't matter, because you use your imagination.
I mean, so when you get to do these things like Mission Impossible and Doctor Who, is it just surreal? Is it at first? Do you get nervous? Are you like, oh my God, I'm doing something that's larger than life?
Utterly. I remember when I was in Doctor Who in 2005. It's happened so many times for me in a weird way, but winding up in Star Trek and having a little something to do in, well, actually I did a little bit in The Force Awakens, but I also did I voiced Dengar, the bounty hunter in Clone Wars, and I was a droid. This is a little known fact. I voiced a droid called Omri in a Star Wars game, who was the red Protocol droid who ended up giving his arm to 3PO in the Force Awakens.
Wow.
But being on the set of Star Wars, that was just incredible. I remember, being there on the day when Harrison Ford and Jonas, who would play Chewbacca standing up at that time, because Peter Mayhew had bad knees, so he'd always be Chewbacca sitting.
Jonas is the loveliest guy.
Yeah, he's a
so
sweetheart,
sweet. Yeah.
When I first walked into the tent and he was there in his Chewbacca costume. I've never, even now, when you see Chewbacca, you don't see a man in a suit. You see a living animal. You see a Wookiee. It's impossible in a way to even consider this a man in a suit. And so I walked into this room.
That's what a child would say. That's what a child would say, this is great.
That's my inner child.
Inner child. I love that. But go ahead.
So I said, I walk in and there's Chewbacca, like my favorite Star Wars character, and he is exactly the same as he was. And I just kind of like I welled up a little bit. And Jonas, who's from Finland, went, "Oh, hey man, how's it going?" And I went, "Shut up!
Don't talk to me. Just growl.
Don't talk to me. Just growl and hug me."
Inside of You is brought to you by Qualia Mind. Guys, this stuff really works. Listen up. Our sponsor, Qualia, combines 28 of the most research-backed nootropic ingredients on Earth into the ultimate brain fuel formula, Qualia Mind. And it's been changing people's lives for years now. I sent some to my mother, who's having some memory issues, Ryan, and things like that, focus. And I'm telling you, it changed her life. She is taking it. I told her I was using this stuff before they were even a sponsor. And I love Qualia Mind. And let me just tell you a little bit about it. The formula is non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free. The ingredients are meant to complement one another, factoring in each ingredient's effect on helping to support mental clarity. This stuff works. How many times do I have to tell you guys? It's also backed by a 100-day money-back guarantee, so you have almost 3 months to try Qualia Mind at no financial risk and decide for yourself. And what makes the Qualia brand unique? Well, I'll tell you. There are thousands of real life-changing reviews over the last 6 years and counting. You can go on their website to check it out.
Science-backed formulas backed with hundreds of research citations.
Yes, and fully transparent formulas, no proprietary ingredients. Formulas created by Qualia's own top scientists, MDs, and NDs. To be honest, I have seen such a radical improvement in my mental clarity and focus with this stuff, and it really helps me. And I really would love to see what everyone else thinks about it, because everyone who's used it that I know of just says, they're kind of like really impressed by the product.
See what the best brain fuel formula on earth can do for your mindset. Go to qualialife.com/IOU for up to $100 off Qualia Mind. And as a listener of Inside of You, use code IOU at checkout for an additional 15% off any purchase. For your convenience, Qualia Mind is also available at select GNC locations near you.
That's qualialife.com/IOU and use code IOU for an additional 15% off to experience life-changing mental performance from Qualia Mind. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. Inside of You is brought to you by Shopify. I love Shopify, Ryan, and you know this.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using Shopify for a long time. When I want to sell a product, it is so easy to navigate. I can see which products are selling the best, which aren't selling. If I want to add a product, it takes me seconds. It's so easy to use, and making money is so simple, and it's easy for buyers and sellers alike. It's often overlooked, the secret of actually the businesses behind the business making selling, and for shoppers buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify.
Home of the #1 checkout on the planet, and the not so secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%.
Meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going
cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between.
Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify.
Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify.
Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/inside, all lowercase.
Go to shopify.com/inside to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/inside. Had you met Harrison Ford before you met him on set?
Yes, I met him. We did a big photograph for the Paramount 100th anniversary in 2012. We were shooting Into Darkness, and there was a big old, it was crazy. It was like fucking night at the museum. It was like all the waxworks had come to life. Everybody was there. I mean, I'm Mickey Rooney, Jerry Lewis, Ernest Borgnine, old school people.
Ernest Borgnine?
Everybody from Mickey Rooney to Justin Bieber and everyone else, everybody was there. It was ridiculous. I remember walking in with me and Pine walked in, and I went up to talk to David Lynch, and he went up to talk to Brad Pitt. It was like I went for the weirdo, he went for the handsome guy.
I love that.
But I met Harrison that day. Weirdly enough, I walked in and I saw John Landis, and I know John because I'd worked with him, and it was such a scary room. And I thought, I'll go speak to John. It'll be okay, because it was nerve-wracking. And I walked up and went, John. And he turned to me and went, "You fucking asshole." And I was like, what? And I realized he was standing with Shatner and Harrison Ford. And he thought I'd just come over to kind of earwig on their conversation, and I hadn't. Anyway, so I got to meet him then.
Was he just kind of nice to meet you? How are you?
Yeah,
I'm
super cool guy.
Ford. Look,
Really,
yeah.
really. I mean, it was really weird actually, because I remember he was the least freaked out of the old cast about being back. He was really philosophical about it. I remember he'd done that scene where he says, "Chewie, we're home," and he came around to the monitor and he put his little Indiana Jones glasses on, which was weird because he was dressed as Han Solo and he had his round glasses on, and he watched the playback and he was just like, I remember saying, "I'm having fun." Whereas Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill were quite sort of, I think they found it quite overwhelming. I mean, Mark was pissed off because he wasn't in it very much.
Right. Well, he eventually got a big part. And
yes, he did. But yeah, just being around those people and those practical sets, and I'd been in love with Carrie Fisher as a child, like properly in love with her.
She was a dear friend of mine.
A bit of time
dear
with
friend
her.
of mine.
I mean,
yeah,
my first romantic love, really, and to hang with her, and it was magical.
She was the most down to earth celebrity I've ever met to this day. Where besides you, of course, but like. I once told her, like, I had the code to her house, to her gate. And she's like, if you're just in Beverly Hills, you have an audition, so stop by, make yourself a sandwich. It was like an open door policy with her. And I remember she said, you and I go, you remind me so much of my grandmother. And she goes, fuck you. And I go, no, that's not what I meant. I didn't meant like you look like her. I meant like she was always like, everybody was in the house and people were walking around, and you'd walk into the house and there's Robert Downey Jr. playing the piano and somebody lying on the bed. And, she just was a regular person. I had my mom met her, and she looked at me in front of my mom and she goes, now I know why you're all fucked up. Just after talking to my mom for a minute. And I
got a great fuck you from her. I've told this story before, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but we were walking around the set, and we were arm in arm, and I looked at her and I said, I've always loved you, like really meant it. I looked into her eyes, and she grabbed me by the hand and she held up my wedding ring and she went, fuck you.
That's totally her. I had her sign a picture of Princess Leia from Return of the Jedi, where she's with that little suit on and everything. And it just says, it's in my office. It just says, Michael, blow me, Carrie. So it's really good for the show.
She was the real deal.
She was.
I think she was incredible because she was so frank about the impact of that film and on her life, and she was so fucking funny and whip smart, and it was such a sad thing to lose her.
She didn't change for anyone. What you see was what you got. It was. I can't even express it. It was like no matter how big the celebrity or how small the celebrity or a nobody, whatever, everybody got treated the same. She wasn't any different. You know how you turn it on when you're around certain people, like, oh yeah, I'm smart, but you're not. Yeah. Like I've done that before. You're around all these like big, you're like, oh yeah, I went to the Getty Center again last week, and shut the fuck up. She was just like, she would say things so brilliantly and articulately, and I would go, I don't understand what you're talking about. She goes, fuck you. Okay, here's what I'm trying to tell you in layman's terms. Yeah. But she was
she gave zero fucks.
Zero fucks.
She was so smart as well.
Were your parents strict at all growing up?
No, not really. My mum and dad split up when I was 7, and then I had a stepdad who was quite strict. He was a bit of a meanie, and that whole bit in Shaun of the Dead about he's not my dad. That was ripped out of my own life. In fact, the whole story about him chasing me around the garden with a bit of wood was totally and utterly true.
Wow.
Although I think I sort of sublimated a weird excuse for his behavior in the film. He kind of says, I was just trying to keep you on the straight and narrow. And really, Richard, who I'm now very good friends with, he was young when he married my mom, and he didn't know how to deal with a 7-year-old boy. And he was childish, and he behaved so. But that was my kind of fantasy, that he was doing it for a reason, not just because he fucking hated me.
Did he ever mention it to you, like after, like, who's that? Or did you tell him?
I think he saw it and he thought, yeah, that's what I was doing by being, a bit petty with me. But we're good friends now, so it's all good.
When did you meet Nick and Edgar?
I met Nick in 1993 or 4. I moved to London. from Bristol, where I was at university. My girlfriend at the time, she went and got a job at this Mexican restaurant up the road from where we live, Chiquitos. Obviously, Mexican food in London is very good. And she came back one night and said, "Hey, there's a guy at work. He's really funny." And I was a stand-up comedian at the time, trying to be sort of starting out. That's what I did after uni. In order to just earn money, I just went and did stand-up.
Because that's the way to make money.
Yeah, I wanted to earn £50 a night. That was my the weekend.
Yeah.
But Nick, she said, "There's this guy, and he wants to be a stand-up comedian. Can you give him some advice?" So I met Nick at a party, and he just came to every gig I did for like 3 weeks, and we spent like 3 weeks together. And there was this weird kind of, we just connected, and I just. The moment we really bonded, we were in an Indian restaurant called the Pink Rupee in Kilburn in North London, and he moved the salt across the table, and he went beep, 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 and making the right.
Wow, that's
and
good.
I want to know what that is, and we kind of just bonded, and then me and that girl split up, and I kept Nick, and we just. But he was like the funniest fucking guy you've ever met in your life.
He is.
He just naturally, he says things no one else can say. And I was like, I have to harness this in some way. And he tried stand up, but he couldn't quite kind of make the transition from being funny, one-on-one.
Right.
He'd become very mannered as a stand up, and the audience didn't quite go with it. So when we came to write Spaced, which was our sitcom, Nick had this character of this kind of, this sort of slightly patronizing, territorial army guy, like a reserve guy. And I said, "Hey, can we write him into the show? And then you can come and be in the show, and then we can hang out more." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And that was his.
Really? He didn't care? He's like, "Sure."
Yeah. He was like, "Okay. It's better than being at the time." He went back to being a waiter between seasons, but he was like, "Sure." I mean, he was sick the night before we shot the first episode. He was so nervous.
Wait a minute. He was sick with nervousness?
Yeah. Like he couldn't. He thought someone was going to come along and tell him he couldn't be in the show. And even Edgar only knew Nick vaguely. I'd met Edgar because he'd been employed by the Paramount Comedy Channel, which was a sort of cable channel we had here, to direct some stuff. I'd seen him at a bunch of things. He was always really chatty and kind of annoying. We came from the same part of the UK, and I was also, who the fuck is this? Like, he's like a kid with a beard, and he kept sort of like talking to me about. He'd seen me on the TV doing some stand-up, and then we did a show together called Asylum, and which was like you never get it made now. It was like a sitcom set in a psychiatric hospital.
Awesome. That sounds actually awesome.
Yeah, it had a fairly sort of casual attitude towards mental health, reductive. But when I saw the show, because he used to do all this coverage, and I was doing another TV sketch show 5 days a week, and then I have to work one day on this, and I was like, "Oh man, what is this guy doing?" And then I finally saw the show, and I was like, "Holy shit!" He had this whole show in his head with all these incredible transitions, and he was 4 maybe, and I just thought, this kid is a genius, So when we came to look for a director for Spaced, it was like, we got to get this guy Edgar. He's incredible.
So it was moment. There's a moment where you go, "Oh, this guy's really smart. This is next.
It was
level.
Just watching.
I'm going along for the ride here."
We'd shoot a scene, and then the camera would drift off, and then we'd shoot a scene 3 weeks later, and then I'd watch the whole show, and I'd realize that he'd had all the transitions were just up there. The style of the show, it was really, really impressive.
Isn't it amazing? Amazing how you notice a good director with transitions. I always think that, because they think, okay, what's in the script? It's just like scene after scene after scene. But like how you transition into the next scene, what comes next, how you make it interesting, how you make it effortless. It's like, that's a huge part of it that I think a lot of people forget, is like transitioning from scene to scene.
Exactly. Yeah. And sort of knowing where the eye will be when the next scene begins, and stuff that you just can't really, you can only really feel, I guess you can learn it at film school, but
Yeah.
he was just an absolute prodigy. And I said, hey, I'm going to bring my friend Nick to be in the show. And he was like, really? He's the actor. I said, well, no, he's a waiter. He went, really? And then he came on set, and Edgar was like, oh, okay, I get it. And that was how the three of us came together.
Really? So at first he was obviously skeptical and like
Yeah.
going, I don't know, I'd like to audition someone. I got this guy in
Yeah.
mind. And you're just like bringing him along. And you're like, he's never acted before. He's a waiter. He failed at stand up. And this is the guy you bring in. He's like, hey, I'm Nick. It's like,
Yeah, literally.
and he's nervous as shit. He's throwing up. And somehow he saw the genius in him.
It was just complete serendipity. And then through that first season, mine and Edgar and Nick's friendship sort of really became strong. And we shot this one sequence in space where I'm fighting zombies. I'm like, I've done so much speed that I'm hallucinating. It was a really tenuous way just to get some zombies on set and fire some shotguns and do a few kind of, ash lines.
Yeah.
And we got to the end of that morning, and Edgar and I were like, we should make a movie. And that was how Shaun was born.
That was it. We've got to make a movie. And by the way, when Nick's doing this, do you notice him getting better and better and more confident? And like you saw this genius sort of rise from the ashes?
Yeah, 100%. Not just his performance ability, which is always very natural, but also his comfort on the set, the way he is with the crew. He settled in really, really quick. And it was, I was so proud of him, because I took a punt, really. That was selfish of me, because I kind of just wanted to be with him all the time. So I was like, hey, come to my work with me and hang out.
Isn't that something? It's like I always said, like, my best friends in the world who I love being around. It's just like, and I can't find a girl, and I'm single and all this for so many years. And then I'm like, I just look at my best friend and I go, God, I wish you had a vagina. It's like because this is perfect. We don't need to talk. I don't need to worry about how you're feeling right now or what you're doing, or you just.
But that's guys,
It's guys. But then there's someone out there for everybody that you can be yourself, and It takes a while. It takes a while.
Me and Nick are always like Nick. I'll get a text from Nick, and we'll be sitting in the living room at home, and I'll just burst out laughing. And my wife will go, is that Nick? And I'll go, yeah. And she'll go, and we'll text for like 10 minutes. And then they'll say, how is he? And I go, I don't know. We didn't talk about that.
Inside of You is brought to you by Rocket Money. Ryan here has talked about how Rocket Money has helped him. I have talked about it. So many people are praising these folks at Rocket Money because, as all of us do, we tend to get a subscription for a streamer and then forget about it. It's like a free trial. And then 8 months later, we've just spent $800 and we didn't even know it. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spendings, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings.
Well, you know what helped me cancel a subscription that I didn't know I had? I found it in my bank account and I was like, you know what I need? I'm gonna need me some Rocket Money.
That's so true. I remember you coming in here all upset, but then happy that Rocket Money came to the rescue for you. And I was like, we've got to use that.
It's upsetting.
It's real.
It sits there.
It's been said that most Americans spend about $62 a month on subscriptions, but the real number is closer to $300. And that's a big difference. Even if it's just a couple of subscriptions fall off your radar, those recurring payments you don't even know about can really add up.
With Rocket Money, you can see all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For any you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them with just a few taps.
Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts. Easily create a personalized budget with custom categories to help keep your spending on track. See your monthly spending trends in each category to know exactly where your money is going.
Get alerts if bills increase in price, there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over budget.
Yes, Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lowering your bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service. Thank you. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. So, stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/inside. That's rocketmoney.com/inside. rocketmoney.com/inside. Yeah, I know he wrote this book and everything, and he was on the podcast, and we talk, and he and I have dealt with depression and anxiety and a lot of stuff. Is it something you have too?
Mm-hmm.
When do you still deal with that?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Well, I mean, I've had it all my life, and then went through kind of phases. And then when I got to about 40, I was drinking very heavily in order to anesthetize how I was feeling. It was kind of like the therapy that I've had suggested that I wasn't an alcoholic, even though I was drinking like an alcoholic. I was actually just self-medicating with alcohol, because for 20 minutes it will stop you from feeling awful.
Yeah.
And so I quit drinking at 40, and then but it comes back. It's on your shoulder, all the time, and sometimes you'll just feel incredibly anxious, or you feel it, it creeps up on you, and you just deal with it. I'm on some stuff, and
Me too.
I
too.
have therapy, and I just try and cope as best I can.
Yeah, for me it was look, every drug works for different people, so it's not like this is the one. But I've been on Lexapro for about a year and a half, and it's certainly changed a lot.
Oh, that's good.
Suddenly I wasn't riddled with anxiety all the time about everything. I'm anxious about waking up, and I'm anxious about everything. I mean, everything.
Yeah. It's like your brain knows that you're safe, but your nervous system thinks you're in mass. Sorry, that's my fucking dishwasher. Your nervous system is convinced you're about to die,
And I don't know, and you why I don't want to feel like this. Why I don't, and it just happens. And so
there's no danger. It's just, but you have that your heart's going, you have that sense
sweating,
of imminent danger. It's a horrific feeling. It's really uncomfortable.
Have you ever had it on set or before a scene, or you have a panic attack?
I had a weird panic attack on stage once. I was in New Zealand, and I was doing a gig. I was in Wellington, and I had a weird panic attack on stage, but I kind of retreated inside myself to deal with it. Kept doing my material. I don't know if it showed on my face, but I just remember the whole room just went I felt like I was in a goldfish bowl. My heart rate was going like this, and I managed to kind of work through it. But no, not on set. I find set to be a very happy place. It's a place where I feel kind of safe, and it makes me happy. So I think it kind of mitigates the black dog, as we call it.
Do you guys, you and Nick, do you have that relationship even through the dark stuff? You've seen him at his darkness. He's seen you at your dark, and you call each other. You're there for him. He's there for you. You've seen it all.
Oh yeah, we were always checking in on each other. Recently I had a bit of a kind of a flare up, and he every day checking in. How are you? And he speaks to my wife, and it's he's good because we've both been through it. We both have had that sort of that experience. And I mean, Nick's dealt with a lot of loss in his life. He's been bereaved so many times. I remember there was a time when it was annually for a while, close family members, and you've just got to be there and say, look, if you want to talk to me or if you need me, I'm here. And he's the same for me. And it's good. It's good. As it's good when someone gets it, when someone's been there too.
Have you ever just said, I'm coming over now? I'm on my way.
No, because he lives too far away. When his I think, you know, when he lost his mom, I think we were together when he lost his mom. We were in LA. It was in, we were on like the Shaun of the Dead video promotional tour. And I was with him in the car. But when he lost his dad as well, you know, you make the journey, you go straight down there. And I mean, I love the guy, and I always want to be around for him if he needs me.
Yeah, I remember I was at a convention and I had already hung out with Nick before, and we knew each other and we text and this and that. And I was at this con, I was definitely going through something. I was just, and you know, when you're at the convention signing or whatever, you just sort of go through the motions sometimes when you're not. I felt like I was going, but I'm a good bullshitter. I can fucking fake it. You won't know if I'm depressed. You won't know if I'm anxious. You won't know if I just cried, you know, penis tears. I don't know what that means, but like,
I'm using it.
I'm use it. But I remember I went up to him and we talked. And I go, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I get a text from him and it says, hey, mate, I'm just checking in on you. I'm like, hey, thanks. Was there a reason? He goes, yeah, I noticed something was a little off with you. You just seem like there's something going on. Like he was a fucking Jedi master, a fucking, I don't know what it was, but he read me so nobody else got it. And I go, wow, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going through, you know, a little, and he talked to me about it. And it was just so touching because nobody does that.
We know, it's like we know our own kind, you know. I think often as well, if you're creative and you're sensitive and, you know, not to blow our collective trumpets, but if you're smart, at least sort of kind of, you know, life smart, then these things can get to you a little easier, you know. I think ignorance is bliss, and sometimes when you know too much about stuff, it creeps in.
Yeah. When did you know you were famous? When did you know, wow, my life has fucking changed? There's something different now. And how did that feel? And how did you react to it?
You know what? I'll tell you a funny story. I remember the first person that ever came up to me and said that they'd seen Spaced and they really liked it. And I was at Camden Market in London, and this young girl comes rushing up to me. She says, "Oi, Ossie, I just watched your show. It's really good. I really like it." And I was so kind of like touched, and we had a little chat, and I said bye and thanks. And then like maybe 10 years later, I was at some music event on the BBC. It was like a kind of a music show, lots of different artists, and Amy Winehouse was there. And she came up to me and went, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "What?" She went, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "What are you talking about? You're Amy Winehouse." And she said, "I came up to you in Camden car park." I was like, "What?" And so Amy Winehouse was the first person to ever come up to me and say hi. And that was such a funny thing to discover I mean, she was like a teenager working on the stalls there, you know.
Wow. That is awesome. What an awesome thing. It's amazing how like sometimes you work with people or you meet people and you have I always say like, and I heard it from someone else, but like, it's just like, you should treat everybody the same. You should be kind with everyone. Kindness 100%. Gets you everywhere. And I think that's so true because I remember like just working with someone and, you know, I was just really nice to them and helping them out and trying to make them feel comfortable. And then they just got larger than life and they blew up and they took me aside and were like, "Hey, you really were nice to me." And I was like, wow, it's amazing how just being kind to someone. Could you imagine if you were just an asshole and you were just like, yeah, okay, yeah, thanks, space.
I think I've met a few, not many, but I've met a few. And the ones I have met, I can honestly say it's insecurity. It's an armor against massive self-doubt.
Do you think people need to say something to those people, like to just take them aside and say, "Listen, you have to be aware of your behavior"? Do you think that helps?
Yes, but the worst thing, what you don't want to do is for them to suddenly like go storming off set.
I remember, you know, Vincent D'Onofrio, who's, you know, he's a friend of mine. He's a tough guy. He's a character. He doesn't, you know, put up with a lot of shit. And I asked him about that and he goes, I go, "What do?" He goes, I take him aside. And I go, what do you say to him? I tell him they have to stop what they're doing.
Yeah.
And he just says it straight face. And I go, yeah, what do they say? They usually do it. I'm like, what? And I think that, you know, if you do, you're right though. It could really piss someone off. Like, fuck you. Don't tell me what it can flip things out. You don't want to.
And if it's Vincent D'Onofrio telling you what to do, you're going to do it.
You're going to do it. I'm like, yes, I'm so sorry. I'm going to go buy everyone cake and coffee, the whole crew. And I just, thank you. Have you ever been mobbed by people?
Yes. I mean, usually it's like when you go to, it's exactly the same for you in that kind of,
no.
If you go to Comic-Con,
if you go somewhere where
your people are,
I mean, people
you're
come
going to
up.
People are going to get, I've been around Cruise when he gets mobbed. That is something to behold, because I remember we did a recce we were in Vienna, and we just went out to walk around this subway and to lens out some scenes we were going to do for Rogue Nation. And like one person spotted him, and then two, and then three, and then within about 15 minutes, there were 100 people around us, all with their phones. And he's just in the middle of it, kind of, you know. And I remember we were shooting in Casablanca, and we were shooting the car chase in Rogue Nation, and we're bombing around these alleyways. And it was about a mile from unit base. And he said, do you want to come in my car with me, and we'll get back a bit quicker. And we drove down. It was just an avenue of Moroccan men all going, Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise, like banging on the car like this. And I was just sat in the car, it was fucking terrifying. He's just sat there like,
that's it.
Fucking thrives on it.
He does. He's like, and I'm sure you could say this. I remember meeting him. I'm telling you, I met him for a minute. I was introduced by a mutual friend, and I said, hey, I'm Michael, blah, and it was it. It was forgettable. I was forgettable. And about a year later, I was at some party, and he was at, and I walked by, and I said, I kind of nodded at him. He goes, hey, I met you at Binder's house, Michael. And I go, what? Why would you know my name? Like, he was so kind. Like, I didn't understand how anybody could be that friendly. I don't remember people's names right when they introduce themselves.
Me neither.
I immediately forget, and I feel so bad. I'm like, you just said your fucking name, and I'm thinking about my own shit, and I don't even remember what I just you said. And that happened. Yeah.
But he's like, he will, you know, he's very good at that. I think he's very aware of the effect that he has. And so his kind of a behavioral pattern is to immediately put people at ease by being very, very nice. So he's very good with fans. He's very good with people he's being introduced to. You know, it's just, that's part of his thing. That's part of who he is. He's built this, you know, in order to survive.
How is he honestly on set? Is he just giving and there for you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's a producer on mission as well. So he cracks the whip as well. And, you know, things get done when he's around. He's always very courteous. He's great with the crew. I can tell when he's not in a good mood, but I can tell he's terrible when he's in a great mood, because he just gets really,
what's going on? Right? Yeah. We can't get.
But he'll always try and fuck me over on my coverage if things are going well, and you know, because we laugh a lot on set. Chris McQuarrie is great to work with. There's always a lot of, and it's a fun shoot. It's hard, and sometimes it's arduous, but you know, there are days when I just see he gets that little glint in his eye, and I'm like, you don't fucking dare, man, because I'm in this film too. You know.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Therapy is hugely important. It's been so important in my life. Ryan, you use BetterHelp.
I do.
So do so many people. And people come up and thank me because, you know, it's not about major trauma. People with major trauma just need therapy. It's mostly everyone who's going through anything, and a good platform to talk to someone. And I really appreciate all that BetterHelp does, and I'm glad they're a part of my life. This month is all about gratitude. And along with everyone we're thankful for, there's another person we don't usually thank enough, ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we're trying our best to make sense of everything, and in this crazy world, that isn't easy. BetterHelp can help with that. Therapy can remind us to slow down and take stock of just how far we've come in our journey and remind us to take a really good look at ourselves and appreciate what we see. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. And it isn't just for those, like I said, who've experienced major trauma. It's for everyone. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapist anytime for no additional charge. It's easy. A lot of people, Ryan, are worried, like, what if I don't like my therapist? Well, you just change. It's so easy. You don't have to worry about that. So don't think that's an issue. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/inside today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/inside. Inside of You is brought to you by JCPenney. Ryan, have you started your holiday shopping?
I probably should start my holiday shopping.
Yeah, well, I know where you need to go for your holiday shopping and gift needs
Where's
because
that?
I go there.
Hmm.
The first stop is JCPenney. They have everything. They offer the best deals on holiday gifts, and I have a lot of gifts to buy. JCPenney is what I call the top gifting destination for the holiday season. Truly, if I want clothes, and I know you see me wear sweatpants a lot of times, but if I want to look nice, I want to look sharp, JCPenney has all the top brands. Anything I want is all there. It's a one-stop shop, if you ask me. You can go online or you can go into the store. I like to go in there and look. Because then you can just, I know that fits and I know how that looks. And
I can count on huge Black Friday deals and gifts for everything from Adidas, Puma, Champion brands for those sports fans.
And for those who cook, what about an enamel cast iron Dutch oven, a Keurig coffee maker, or a stand mixer?
They all make great gifts. For beauty items, head right over to JCPenney Beauty to buy top beauty brands like Bare Minerals, Smashbox, Too Faced, plus so many designer fragrances.
Yes, I truly love JCPenney. It's the only place I go when I go to the mall, and I love malls, but there's so many stores. And why do you need to go to all those stores, Ryan? You don't. You just go to JCPenney. And do not forget, JCPenney has the most sought-after toys for kids. Legos, Marvel, Barbie, Hello Kitty. You'll go nuts just trying to choose from all the hottest toys.
If you're a value seeker and looking for brand name quality and the latest fashion trends, JCPenney is the destination that delivers more for your money.
Shop in-store or online. On Friday, November 29th, shop all day, in-store and enjoy. Shop in-store or online. On Friday, November 29th, shop all day in-store and enjoy special surprises and giveaways from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Go to jcp.com/Black Friday for details. JCPenney, make it count. You ever meet someone who you admired, but they turned out to be an asshole and you were so bummed?
Yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah. A couple of people. I won't name names. But
Yeah. Like you were like surprised, like, oh, that sucks.
it's so disappointing, isn't it?
It's
Because
so
you're just like,
disappointing.
you expect as well when you meet someone on a professional level and you're not just a fan, you're not just someone coming up in the street. And, I always try and be as nice as I possibly can to anyone who comes up, because I know it's the first time they've done it. They're probably nervous. And you just have to, and I'm sure I've been grumpy some days when it just hasn't been the right moment and I haven't been able to be as courteous as I wanted to be. But when you're when it's an industry peer, you expect some kind of like I don't know, some courtesy.
I remember Beverly D'Angelo, and I had met Chevy Chase before. And Beverly, did I tell you the story, Ryan? And I'm at a convention, and Beverly's like, "Hey, let's get a picture with Chevy." It was her idea, and I go, "Oh, okay." And we go over there. And she goes, "Chevy, this is Michael. You met him before. We're going to do a picture." And he's like, "Well, he just like dismissed me, but it was fine." And we're we're talking. I go, "Hey, it's okay. I'm totally forgettable." He goes, "Don't yell in my ear." And I go, "Smile." And I remember going, "Oh my God." And I remember, well, before when he said that, he said, don't talk, don't yell in my ear or something like that. And I go, "Are you serious?" And Bev goes, "Just stop it. Don't worry about it."
He's quite notorious though, isn't he? He's a bit of a.
I guess
yeah,
it was
he's
like, I
famous
guess he's getting old. Were your parents
Yeah.
completely blown away when you hit this like stardom? Were they like, was your mom like, "Hey, can you come to the hair salon with me? Hey, my friend wants to meet you. Can you sign this? Can you do this?"
No, not really. I mean, because it kind of happened very gradually.
Yes. Yeah.
And, in increments. And, it's always really nice to be able to take them to premieres and stuff and introduce them to people and be able to do stuff which is, novel for them. But occasionally I get like, "Oh, Jane's son is a big fan. Will you sign a DVD for him?" That kind of thing. But
Right.
But not really. They're quite sort of they're sort of philosophical about it.
All right, this is called Shit Talking with Simon Pegg, folks. Patreon.com/Inside of You Sports Podcast. So, Simon, this is rapid fire.
Okay, let's go.
These are fans. This is easy. And if you want to elaborate on one, you can do what you want. I don't give a shit.
I'll try not to.
I'll try not to. Elizabeth L., what was your favorite memory working on the Star Trek movies?
Oh, I think writing Beyond, even though it was very hard work and, and I co-wrote it with Doug Jung, who was a fantastic guy, but just the whole process of getting to write a Star Trek film, to create a character. I named the planet in Star Trek Beyond is called Altamid, and it's an anagram of Matilda, which is my daughter's name. So
I love
to
that
get to
name.
do that is my favorite.
That's awesome. Dev Nexon. Now, this is an odd question. What do you tend to wear when you do voice work? I wear sweats and a t-shirt. I did it yesterday.
Always. Comfort is the thing. You're going to be in that box for a long time. Shorts maybe.
People always say, "What do you prefer, live action or voiceover?" I'm like, well, voiceover is a lot easier. You're not on set.
I find it hard though. Don't you? I find the energy of voiceover.
It is. It is exhausting. It really is, because you're
takes
really.
it out of you, doesn't it?
It does take it out of you. Nico
Yeah.
P, what's the biggest difference when working on a Tom Cruise movie set as compared to others you have worked on? Like, for instance, even Shaun of the Dead or whatever.
Well, Tom Cruise isn't there. That's the that's the big difference. Tom Cruise is an industry, and when you're in, we call it. There's a computer shop in the UK called PC World, and we call working with Tom TC World, and it's just a different thing. When it's me, Edgar, and Nick, it's our own thing, and it's a little bit more. It's a little less crazy,
A little less
not that it's
stressful.
crazy, not loopy crazy, but
I mean, you're getting paid a lot more for a Tom Cruise movie, but you're less stressed on another movie.
Exactly. Swings and roundabouts.
And you could say add things like, "Oh, can I do this? Can I? I think we should do this." And where Edgar would hear that, and you're like, "Oh yeah." And there's some of these, you're like, "Yeah, let's just stick to this. This is good."
Exactly.
I don't know.
Let's do it by the book.
Leanne, if you had to describe yourself in one word, what would it be and why?
Complex.
Complex? Are you complex?
I think so. I am, yeah, because like we all are in a way. I mean, I could say I'm happy, but then sometimes I'm not. I could say I'm friendly, but then that doesn't cover everything. I think I'm a human, I guess.
So complex. Yeah, I would never look at you and think, but I don't know you like that. I don't know what, like when you're at a con, you're wonderful. You're like, you don't seem complex. You seem like a easygoing guy, but maybe there's a lot of complexity. I mean, when you look, the way you write, the way you think, I'm sure it's there, obviously, but you don't show it. You don't show the stress. And you don't. So anyway, Nancy D, what is a piece of advice you received early in your career that you still follow today, besides a zero gravity chair?
I was going to say that. I always like Michael Caine's advice of don't blink. Do not blink when you're acting. Don't blink.
Do you do a lot of impressions?
I do a very good Michael Caine, and that's probably about it.
That's so good. I can't do that. My English accent's not. I could do a little bit of Gary Oldman.
In what?
When you're dealing in an industry like this, you've got to have a great ego. And Francis Ford Coppola has an ego the size of San Francisco. I don't know.
The best advice that I give, I think, and I give to my kid is, and I would give to everyone who's coming up, is find the thing that you love to do and try and get paid for it. That's the advice for life.
It sure as hell is. And don't listen to anybody else telling you what you should do. Do what you want to do. Flirtatious B, last one. What is your favorite age of cinema?
I would say probably the 70s. I mean, just and 70s and 80s, I guess, because that's when the movie brats moving into the kind of the generation after that. So yeah, the 70s and 80s. And I know that's nostalgia, because there have been every era. Oh my fucking God. I saw The Substance today.
Don't say anything. Don't say a word. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to see it.
See it. Just see it. It is
everybody,
amazing.
People that just are yes, I'm going to see it. I want to see it immediately.
Watch it with a big audience as well, if you can. Just because as a communal experience, it's out of this world.
Okay.
Anyway.
No. By the way, what's your favorite horror movie, you think? If you have mine's like The Shining, Alien, The Thing, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Same as you.
Said it. The Thing, I would say. The Shining, definitely The Shining. I noticed a lot of this. You'll notice in The Substance, you'll see little touchstones that you'll recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Stylistically. But yeah, I think that I would say The Thing, American Werewolf in London, The Shining, Dawn of the Dead, the original.
I love it. All right. Are you going to do another Doctor Who, or would you if they asked you?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like, because I played that one character. I don't know if I'd go back and do it again.
You got a Star Trek sequel coming up.
I hope so. I mean, this is talked about all the time. We don't get, we know as much as everyone else. There's a script been in development for God knows how long. And every time I see JJ, he's sort of like, yeah, I think something's going to happen, but I'd love it to. I really would, but I can't be sure.
And Mission Impossible 8, that's probably going to happen. Or, yes, that's going to happen.
That's coming out in May 24th next year.
Have you seen it or anything?
I have just finished shooting. I've got one day of pickups to do. I've seen some of it. It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas. What he does in this one, it boggles the mind. I think this one is the best one ever.
Wow.
And I'm not just saying that because it's like, oh, you got to say it.
No, I mean, if you're blown away by
You're just saying that. I don't know. Of course, you're saying you're an actor. You're promoting it.
It is going to be great.
I love it. This has been an absolute treat. I wish you only the best. I love this, and I love seeing you. And I'm going to get that Shaun of the Dead poster and put it up with all these other horror posters.
You will, man. Well, we're email buddies now, and it was lovely to meet you in Portland, and I'm really happy to do this. So let's hopefully see each other again soon.
What can I say? Simon, you're a delight. You're a damn delight, a talented delight. And I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Nick Frost for helping me get Simon. He's, they're good friends. I'm trying to get their buddy, the director.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright, of course, but he's like too busy. He's like, I was like, hey, Simon's doing it. I know you said you're going to do it. He goes, well, have fun with Simon. I can't do it right now, but it's been a year and a half and still nothing. But, I wanted that because I think he's a terrific director. So, it's selfish of me.
Yeah.
I want him on the podcast, but I think a lot of people would like to hear how he sort of creates these worlds and how he works with Simon and Nick and all that. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I appreciate it. Remember, at the Michael Rosenbaum on Instagram, you can see on my link tree everything Cameo. We announced a Smallville cruise. Yes, not only is there a Smallville Con coming to Chicago next year in June. I think that's out there. I don't know if it's out there yet. But there's also a Smallville cruise in June 15th, I believe. So Welling and I are going, Laura Vandervoort, Erica Durance, John Glover. It's going to be great. You could do activities with us. I might have a swimming with pigs day. So if you could sign up for that. And some other fun stuff on there. So that's all coming out. So make sure that you book a ticket to come on a cruise with me and the rest of the Smallville folks next year. I'm very excited about that. And right now, I'm going to read the top tier patrons, Ryan. These are folks that I could not do this show without, and they are really responsible for giving so much to this podcast and keeping it afloat. The top tier is patreon.com/Inside. Here we go. Nancy D, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Jill E, Brian H, Nico P, Rob L. Thank you all for messaging me about my surgery. Jason Dreamweaver, Sophie M, Raj C, Jennifer N, Stacy L, Jamal L F, Janelle B, Mike L, Dan Supremo,
99 more, Santiago M, Maddie S, Kendrick F, Belinda N, Dave H,
Dave Ho,
Dave Ho,
love you, Dave,
Brad D, Ray H, Tabitha T, Tom N, Talia M, Betsy D, Rhiannon C, Corey K, Michelle A, Jeremy C, Mr. M, Eugenia Leah, The Salty Ham, Mel S, Eric H,
Oracle, Amanda R. What if I let you read now? I was like, that's it. I just want to read
That's
two. William K, Kevin E, Jorel, Jammin J, Leanne J, Luna R, Mike F, Jules M, Jessica B, Breyer, Kaylee J, Charlene A, Marion Louise L, Romeo the Band, Frank B, Jen T, April R, Randy S, Claudia, Rachel D, Jen the Carolina Girl, Lorelei N, no, Lorelei L, Lorelei L, Lorelei, hi Lorelei L, damn it, Nick W, Stephanie and Evan, known as
Stefan,
Charlene A, Don G, Jenny B76, Tina E, and G Tracy. Why don't you finish this off here?
Keith B, Heather and Greg, Ellie K,
Heather and Greg,
Elizabeth L,
Ellie,
Ben B. Jammin,
Elizabeth,
Pierre C,
Ben B,
Sultan of SWAT,
Sultan,
Ingrid C,
Ingrid,
Christina S,
Christina,
Brandon C,
Brandonian,
Mrs. Lex Luthor,
Ooh,
Dave T,
Dave T,
and David L.
and David L. We love you guys. Thanks for supporting the podcast. We appreciate you, and more than you know. And from the Hollywood Hills in Hollywood, California, I am Michael Rosenbaum.
I'm Ryan Diaz.
Little wave to the camera. We love you. And as always, please, please be good to yourself. I will see you in a week or less if you're just listening to episodes consecutively. Okay. See you.